Hi, everyone. For any of those listening, I'm Audrey, and I will be your host today, and I will just be asking some questions from What's the Rule cast. And first, could we do some introductions? Let's start with Claire. If you could just, say your name, who you play in the show, and anything else that you want us to know.
Yeah, hi, I'm Claire. I play Ashley in What's the Rule? And I'm from Connecticut, but I'm staying in Rhode Island right now because we have a summer house there. So you get the beautiful view and which way is she? The cat in the background.
That's awesome. Okay, Kayleigh.
Hi, my name's Kayleigh. I play Jack Schneider in What's the Rule, and I am from Massachusetts.
That's awesome. Nice to introduce you to everyone who's watching and who will be watching. Okay, so I'm just gonna ask a few questions. You guys can pop in like whoever. I'm not gonna call anyone. So my first question is, how did you get involved with What's the Rule?
Okay, I'll start, I guess. So I was doing Snap Maps, which was another short, it was a short film that Justin, our director, was doing. So that's how I met him and kind of met everyone. And then like a few months later, he was like, "Hey, I'm going to be doing a series. Do you want to audition?" And like he sent me the script and I read it. And when I was younger, I stayed at the Ronald McDonald House, and I've been volunteering there for pretty much my entire life. So my kind of like responsibilities is hosting activities and making sure that everyone, like all the kids, feel welcomed and accepted. So kind of like those are central themes to this show about two siblings with autism and ADHD kind of feeling like how they want to feel accepted and like welcomed into their new school. So it kind of like spoke to me, and I was like, yeah, I definitely want to be part of this.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. How about you, Kayleigh? How'd you hear about the show?
I actually got a casting call for it. My mom saw it and she was like, "Hey, you should do this." And I originally actually saw the casting call for Sam, my co-star Jessica's role, and I unfortunately didn't get it in on time. But I got it in on time for actually a different role. But I just kind of knew I needed to at least go for it because I mean, my life I've seen autism portrayed different ways in media, and I just thought it was really cool and really nice how they were, how Justin was specifically looking for autistic actors, and that kind of what led me to it and made me go for it.
That's really incredible. So I have a question for you, Kayleigh. So what has it been like to play a character with autism as an actor with autism?
Crazy. And really, really nice at the same time. It's kind of like looking in a mirror sometimes when I'm playing Jack. And Justin gave me a lot of creative freedom with it, of to make sure I was comfortable with what I was doing and to really show what it's like to be autistic. And definitely as a female with autism, normally I'm not the stereotype, and so I get looked at a lot differently, and it was kind of cool for once to see a character portrayed differently than the stereotype, and it was really cool to kind of let myself get into the character and kind of see Jack grow even over the one episode.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I'm just like, I'm sure that you would agree. I'm really excited that What's the Rule has, characters played by people who share the same experience. Could you kind of like touch on anything like that, like about, you know, just how you connect with the character? I know that you did it just a little bit.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because when I first read the script, I remember my mom mentioning to me, she's like, you basically are the character. She was like, you've gone through the things Jack has gone through. You've learned how to exist in normal school and things like that. And it's really just kind of like looking in a mirror, and it's really nice to be able to show things that I go through every day and things I'm sure many other people go through every day. And you get that real emotion behind it, not the stereotyped emotion. And it's an amazing change for once to see that. So it's like looking in a mirror, and it's very rewarding to see things like that, to see the change happen.
That's really incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so you kind of mentioned about your first reaction to the script. That's kind of my next question for both of you. Maybe like Claire could go first, and then you can expand on what you were saying, Kayleigh. So what was y'all's first reaction to the script when you first read it?
I was like, I really liked it. I didn't really know where the rest of it was going because Justin sent me like the first scene, which it was a very like rough copy. So I was like, okay, there were so many different places that the story could go, and like I want to see it develop into an entire series. Like it was very thought provoking, and it was like a page turner. Like I was very into it. Yeah, and then that, as I said earlier, that was kind of like a defining thing. I was like, okay, like yeah, I definitely want to be part of this production.
That's really incredible. What about you, Kayleigh?
Um, Obviously Claire got the script before I did. The parts she read before I did. I got the script way later than everybody else, and I got a much later version of the script. My first thought when reading it was how do I get involved in this production? Mostly because it wasn't the stereotype, and it was very heartfelt and very like obvious. There was emotion put into it, and who wrote it cared about what they were writing. And the first script I got, Jack's character was a little different than what you see in the show now, and it was really cool seeing the character kind of change and progress into who Jack is now through the script. And like Claire said, it was a page turner. I didn't want to put it down. I kept reading it. I was reading it during my free time, and yeah, it was really cool to read it. And it was an amazing story, and the way it was just like the emotion into it really just added the want to continue reading it.
That's amazing. Yeah, definitely. Whenever I read the first script and then the second script, I was really inspired, and yeah, definitely a page turner. I really like how you guys are saying that. And so I'm really curious to know how basically the rehearsal process has been, like slash production, especially because I know that it started over Zoom. So if you could just, you know, talk to me about that, if Claire, if you want to first talk about it.
Sure. Overall, like it went really well. I think that the whole group had amazing chemistry. So like everything was just very like energetic, and we were all really into our characters. Um, but it definitely was a little bit different than other productions because we were all on Zoom and we all didn't know each other. Like all the actors are coming from different states. So that was definitely a little bit strange for me, I guess. Um, but I think that like Justin, he set us up so that we would kind of just get to know each other. So Jessica, who plays Sam in the show, like she and I, we would just have Zoom calls and we would just like talk, or one time I prepared a bunch of questions to ask Tiana, another actress, and we would just like go through those and get to know each other. So I feel like once we got to set, we all like kind of knew each other. Except I actually did not know Kayleigh whatsoever. She was the only person like I I had just found out that she was even cast like a day before. And then while we were on set, once again, the energy was really amazing. It was a very like relaxed environment, which was different than a lot of other productions. So there was not so much of like a structured schedule. It was more kind of like a creative process, which was kind of cool. And I felt very like welcome to give my input, which was also really nice. Yeah, so I think overall it was just like a really nice experience.
That's amazing to hear. I'm really glad that the experience was, you know, so uplifting and positive. What about you, Kayleigh?
So like Claire said, I actually didn't meet anybody other than Jessica. Um, so I had first just met Justin, and then I met Jessica. And so when I showed up that first day for filming, that was the first time I had actually ever met anybody. I'd met Jessica once in person before, but it was like 20, 30 minutes, and then I had to leave. Um, and so it was really cool to kind of see how quickly all of us kind of bonded together. Because we filmed a fair amount of scenes that first day of us just getting to know each other, the first day meeting everybody. And but I feel like by the next day it was like we had known each other for like months, and we had talked to each other for months, which I think was really cool. I've never actually done any type of film project, so this was my first one. I've only done stage, and so it was a very welcoming environment. The atmosphere was amazing, and like Claire said, it was very, very relaxed. So, and we all were very close, so it was just kind of like I felt comfortable in it. We all felt like we could share what we are, like anything we wanted to say or anything we had an idea for, and everybody was absolutely amazing. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that the entire cast like kind of bonded. And you said something about Jessica, you play twins with her, correct?
Yes.
So how has that been kind of having a twin but, you know, throughout a series?
Kind of crazy. Um, I remember meeting Jessica for like the first time on Zoom, and it like we kind of immediately kind of clicked. Um, and I remember my mom saying like, "You guys kind of look like alike. You guys act alike," and I got to give props to Justin for amazing casting because me and Jessica are a lot alike. And so when we first kind of met, it was like um, an immediate kind of click and bond together, and um, you can really see that. Like it seems like to outsiders that we've known each other forever, which I think is amazing. It's been crazy, like just the thought of having a twin kind of thing, because I'm the oldest in my family, and so I've never kind of like had like that best friend relationship with my siblings. It's always been kind of like a rivalry with my siblings because they're all younger than me, and it was kind of cool to see how Sam and Jack kind of have that best friend kind of relationship, and that they're there for each other constantly and they have each other's backs.
That's really great. I'm really happy to hear that the entire cast was really bonded and I feel I don't know, I think that you would agree just like, you know, having a really good like bond in the cast just really helps portray the story even more. So for my next question for both of you, I was wondering like what your biggest challenge, like personal challenge has been for you during this entire process. Claire, you could start.
Um, I think kind of like although getting to know everyone and becoming very like close and good friends was wonderful from like a social and like personal perspective, but when I actually had to like get in character and kind of like bully Kayleigh and just be like really like rude and like offensive constantly, and because my character is just like the antithesis of my actual personality, or at least I hope so. So I think that like it was a little bit challenging sometimes to get into character and like actually take it seriously, like the stuff that I was saying.
Oh no, she seems to be frozen. Oh wait, you were frozen for a second, I believe.
Oh.
But hold on, I think you answered it perfectly, and yeah, I'm sure that playing a mean character and like being mean to someone is like definitely not fun. So yeah, I definitely have a question about that later. But Kayleigh, what was your biggest personal challenge throughout the process?
Well, I gotta say, Claire is the complete opposite of her character. Claire is an absolutely amazing person.
Thank you.
So it was really cool to actually see her kind of change characters in like a split second, which I thought was really cool. So I got to give props to that. But my biggest challenge would have been how personal some of the situations got, and everybody in the cast and crew made sure that no matter how serious kind of a situation was or how personal it got for us, that we all kept it very lighthearted and very open and very like that everybody was there for each other. But I'd have to say my biggest struggle was how personal things got, because it's just the raw emotion that like you can see, but also at the same time it's just having to do it over and over again and just rethinking about the things over and over again, which was kind of hard, but at the same time I got the raw emotion out of it, and I know it's a real thing that goes on in people's lives. And so even though it was a challenge, I know in the end it's something that needs to be brought up and needs to be seen by people. And so it's kind of like a rewarding for the challenge, but that was definitely probably my biggest challenge out of everything.
Yeah, those sound, yeah. I've definitely been in those situations, so definitely understand. But I think just both of you taking those risks really just help spread it to like a larger audience. So Claire, I keep hearing how nice you are, like how much of a kind person you are. So how did you get in that psyche of like being almost a bully or like the mean one?
Um, I don't know. I think that I kind of like removed myself and like I yeah, removed like the Claire side of me kind of from the whole situation because I knew that I would be like in like what like why am I saying this like Ashley like what do you mean like why do you like keep saying this stuff? So yeah, I kind of like tried to separate my two personalities a bit and just like say the lines. I rehearsed them so many times. So it kind of took a lot of like the initial like emotion and reaction out of it, I guess. So I was just able to really focus on like my character in the moment, the lines I'm saying, like how I'm acting.
And yeah, you said just like listening it a ton, and I think that's yeah, just really awesome. You put that much time and care into it. So anyone of you can answer this, but how long did production take? Like filming and everything?
Like 5 days. I think that we filmed for 4 and then there was a rehearsal, like an in-person rehearsal on the 5th. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it didn't take that long.
Yeah.
well, we almost had Justin on, but so that's really incredible. So I sorry. I was going to ask like why do you think that what's the rule is important right now in society? Like why we should have it like right now. Claire, you could start. Like Kayleigh, yeah.
Okay. I guess I'll start. Um, I feel like kind of society's in this very like um pivotal stage and I think that they're beginning to accept a lot of like changes in attitude and the whole like Gen Z has its own culture, and I think it's trying to become a bit more accepting. So if there's a time to like change stereotypes, I feel like it's the moment now. And especially What's the Rule speaks so deeply to so many people because of the situations and issues that it addresses. Um, and also, like, the media does have such a large influence on people. And when it comes to speaking about autism and ADHD, it has not done exactly the best job. So, um, you see so many um, shows and movies and things that like focus on that, but they're not exactly like realistic or really, um, they're not just the best examples. So I feel like, and of course they're so widespread. So I think it's kind of important to have something that will balance that out and hopefully change people's minds and just begin to like influence society as a whole.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think that's exactly what the arts are here to do. So, Kayleigh, what about you?
Just going off what Claire said, I agree with everything, and definitely with how media has portrayed autism, um, and especially again how widespread that is. It's kind of mind blowing to me when I bring up shows to people. I'm like, oh, that character's autistic. Like, do you like that character? Do you like that show? And I'll tell them that I don't, um, specifically because it's not an autistic actor or something like that. And they're like, but it's giving you exposure, it's giving you what you need. And I tell them it's not the good type of exposure that we want. It's the stereotype that gets put on people, autistic people everywhere, when they tell somebody that they're autistic. And obviously, the Jack, my character that has autism, is a huge part to me that I have always been kind of trying to stand for. That, and I've always been a huge advocate for really anybody that is neurodivergent and can't really speak for themselves. I've always been kind of one to advocate for them. And like Claire said, with how big and how heavily influenced media is on people, making sure that we have the right influence on somebody is important. And just kind of with how long it's been going on, I feel like the problems that arise in What's the Rule are problems that have been going on for a while that are kind of sometimes swept under the rug, that need to be brought up and need to be shown in a manner that isn't the stereotype.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. And I was going to ask, how have you or how has the team just this, navigated this community and how to like make sure that they are represented in a correct and like proper light? So can both of you touch on the experience of that? Claire can go first. Like, we can just keep.
Okay. We're in a pattern now. So, I mean, I think that having a very like neurodiverse cast and crew has really helped because we're able to discuss like personal experiences and tie that into the show to make sure that everyone feels like their story is represented. I feel like that was definitely the biggest part. I mean, that didn't personally affect me too much, but I'm sure that for others that was a big factor in it. Yeah, Kayleigh, I'm sure that this speaks to you a little bit more. So yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I'm friends with a lot of neurodiverse people, and anytime they ask me about the show and I let them know that a majority of our cast is neurodiverse, they freak out about it because it's not something that normally happens. Um, and I mean, there's no way where I can 100% represent everybody correctly, because every person, every autistic person is a completely different. And the best I feel like I can do is to share my stories and explain and kind of advocate my stories, and hopefully that can help other people as much as I possibly can. And I'm still constantly learning about not only my diagnosis, but what other diagnoses and how autism affects and how it shows in other people. And I'm constantly willing to learn. And I feel like just having kind of that mindset is what is the most important. Because like I said, there's no way for me to possibly represent everybody in the autistic community equally and correctly. I can only do it to the best of my abilities, and I'm always willing to try. And like Claire said, it touches a lot of people to know that like it's a almost completely neurodiverse cast, and that the atmosphere of production was very welcoming for everybody, no matter what. And I feel like that touches a lot of people, and is even kind of shocking to a lot of people that it's possible. It's not because it's not possible that it's not happening. It's because of other reasons that aren't positive that it's possible. And just those kind of things, I feel like, help represent every community that is brought up in the show as best to our abilities. And we're always willing to kind of learn more and try and learn better ways to represent, and more positive ways and more ways to show issues and show kind of things that arise in people's lives, and try to represent them the best to our abilities.
Wow, I really appreciate you sharing that. And I also think it's so important for, how we said before, just like for a film or any piece of work, like representing a community, that people from that community should be a part of it. And then, so you kind of just mentioned, both of you, how this experience has really affected you personally. And there's a question from Mark. How has your experience and What's the Rule affect yourselves as actors? And what do you hope to take away from this experience as your careers continue?
Yeah, so the experience has definitely affected me as an actor. This was definitely like a monumental step in my acting career, as this was an entirely different character. Ashley is very different than anyone else I've ever played, just kind of like exact opposite. So I feel like I normally get typecasted as somebody who's like more quiet, more like innocent, maybe like more of a bookworm, not so extroverted. Um, so being Ashley was definitely like this entirely different persona that I had to discover. And I think that I definitely will like take that away, and the different ways that I've kind of learned to act and get in touch with this totally different persona. But then also more, not so much affecting like my acting life, but just my personal life and my um, hopefully my future. I think that What's the Rule has been a huge inspiration for me, because I did not know too much about neurodiversity before this project. I'd always like heard a little bit about it and heard like a person's story here and there, but I think it was really like powerful and impactful and inspiring for me to be surrounded by so many neurodiverse people and to hear their different perspectives all at once. It was just such like a great experience, and I'm just very like inspired by everyone that I've met.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Kayleigh? You kind of touched on this earlier.
Yeah, so again, I've never screened a TV actor before, so this is kind of like my first experience. And like Claire, I learned so much from the people I worked with, just moving forward. And I've always, I think the huge difference between what I've done before is in theater, I was given a role that was already played before, has kind of like that character, like the already known type of person that everybody knows. And with this, I got the ability to kind of create Jack and who they are and who the character is. And I feel like that's something that I'd never done before. And I feel like that's really something I'm going to take forward a lot and use more in hopefully my future career. And definitely the things that the people I worked with taught me, all that is just kind of crazy because like this film isn't Claire's first rodeo, but it was mine, and I learned so much from like Claire and Jessica and Tiana, who just kind of taught me just even the basics of what TV acting is like, and just those things that I feel like I learned just from the day-to-day interactions I had with them. I feel like those are the most important things I've learned through this, and the things I'm going to carry with me throughout my career.
Wow, I absolutely love those responses. I just think it's so cool how this can just affect literally everyone. And thank you so much, Mark, for asking that question. So I have a question. Have there been any funny or favorite moments on set or during rehearsals?
Yeah, there's been a lot. The whole experience, I mean, it was just really fun, and there's just this like lighthearted energy the entire time. I think I've got to think like in chronological order here because there's a lot to unpack, but trying to think of like a few. I think the first day walking around the school was really fun, like exploring. Because we were there like early in the morning, and it was my first time because I hadn't seen the location yet. That was a really cool moment. Then what else? Um, Getting like walking around and getting food because one time Tiana and I were both vegetarian, and Jessica's gluten free, so we didn't have like food that was ordered for us. So we just like walked around and found lunch. It was a delicious restaurant. I think we had Chinese food at the end of it. Yeah, we definitely did. It was like really fun. Um, and then I think that the last scene that we filmed, or second to last scene, was the Autism Alliance scene, and that was just such like a fun scene to be part of. The energy was great because we had spent so much time together, and it was like this really emotionally intense scene too. But after like every take, we were like high fiving and like complimenting each other and be like, okay, yeah, yeah, like oh yeah, we nailed that one, and then like really energetically like okay, let's do it again, another take. Yeah, I feel like those were probably the highlights.
That's so sweet. I love that so much. How about you, Kayleigh?
The one I can really think of was Justin one time decided to give me and Jessica a mic, like a little mic clip that was hooked up to his camera or somebody's camera, and he gave it to us in between a take during lunch actually, and he kind of let us go free will with it. And the footage on that just kind of shows how chaotic we all are sometimes. Um, and it was just kind of like, I feel like that was one of the pivotal moments where all of our relationships kind of grew together as a cast. Because it was just pure us just having fun and just kind of goofing off. And I feel like that's one of the best parts. My poor mother got pulled into it somehow. We all started using accents randomly, talking about random things and just kind of going on and on. And we got a bunch of those kind of like little like snippets of in between takes and in between scenes of us just kind of goofing off and having fun. And all of us just kind of bonding as a cast. And I feel like those were the most fun parts because those were just like the most pure, just unintentional, just us just having fun and just enjoying the creative process and the process of production. And I think those were the funnest parts. And us going out to lunches and going to have lunch together, we always had like little funny moments in those where I would just not think about what I was saying, and then all of a sudden I'd say something and we'd all crack up laughing about it.
I love it. I'm loving all of your stories about the entire cast being together and bonding. So my next question is, do you have a favorite line that your character that you play says? And if not, or if, and you also want to add this, any other character. So basically just like any line.
I mean, none of my lines are particularly great lines. So I don't know in terms of being like a favorite if, well, I'll give you like a favorite to deliver. So that's a little bit different. But um there's a line that Justin added in that was kind of based on like another show that I was on. But it's when we're sitting at the lunch table and I'm saying like, you know, that I would of course recognize Tiana's character Katie because like I've known her my whole life, and she's like, no, you don't remember faces. And we're talking about one of the teachers who I just assumed was Jewish, and I say because I guess I compared, I said that he has the snout of a greyhound, and then my character says like, well, I couldn't say German Shepherd, and then I just like it's just like a horrible and offensive joke, like once again. But I love delivering that line because Justin added it in, especially after casting me, because in a short film that I was in, I had a very like similar like anti-Semitic line just like come out of nowhere, and we just like move off of it. So he just threw in another one for me. So I guess that's maybe my thing now. Everything I'm in, I just have to have a random line like that.
Oh my goodness, wow, that is really funny, especially because, yep, you were in a film like kind of like that. So that's wow, that's funny. What about you, Kayleigh?
Um, I mean, I don't think I have a specific one. I think my favorite lines out of the whole entire thing was those like small little kind of witty lines that Jack has, um, that mostly snap back at Sam. When Sam like makes a small joke or something like that. There's one in like I think it's the first scene where Sam says something about ditching the routine, and Jack goes like that Jack's autistic. It's like routine or nothing. And Sam snaps back with, "Hi, autistic, I'm chaos." And just that whole entire kind of like interaction of Jack just being very snippy back and Sam snipping back and being very witty, which you don't see Jack like that in public. Like you see it those private like intimate interactions between two siblings. Um, those I'd have to feel like are my favorite, or like the ones where Jack's just kind of like done with Sam and just wants to like move on, or like, um, yeah, those like small kind of moments and witty lines. I would have to say, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely when I was reading, I was like, I don't know, I appreciate witty banter, so that was something that I really liked. And so Claire, you mentioned like that some of the characters or the characters are Jewish. And Kayleigh, I was wondering if you could kind of explain about Sam's necklace.
Hold on, I couldn't quite hear you. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about Sam's necklace and hiding.
Yeah, so Sam's necklace, I'd actually honestly had not seen it until the first day of filming, and I was fantasized by it for like 2 hours. Um, just how it worked. Um, I think Sam's necklace is very important. It's kind of like that symbolism, like that your English teacher always brings up, and you're like, "What is that? Doesn't mean anything." Like something like that, like those small kind of little details, and it's one of the big kind of symbols that we see Sam with throughout the whole entire episode, and that really strikes in those important moments. And it kind of shows where Sam is comfortable and where she isn't. to be herself. And that's kind of like, it shows where she's herself, basically, and where she's not, and how Jack quite doesn't get that yet. Jack doesn't quite understand why Sam's doing it, and that Sam wants Jack to do that. And you can kind of see it throughout the whole entire episode of just like her snapping back at Jack and being like, no, we don't talk about that, and things like that. And it really shows just kind of like the barrier that a lot of people have between who they are and who other people see, and kind of how much that is from basically society. And the reason people are like that is because of society. And I feel like it's a big part. It's such a small detail, but it's such a big part of the messages we're trying to get across.
Yeah, thank you for answering that. I think that's like really important to the entire thing or the entire story that What's the Rule is trying to say. So have you seen snippets of the pilot, like get together, or just like, parts of it? So what was that like, just kind of seeing that in front of you?
Wait, can you repeat that? Sorry, the audio's like cutting in and out.
I know, I don't know what's up with that, so sorry about that. But what was it like just kind of seeing like parts of the pilot in front of you and just kind of like almost put together and just like seeing yourself?
It was really cool, but I personally don't like watching myself act because I'm a really harsh critic. Like I want to see it, so I'll always beg Justin to like show me stuff and to and just like some photos and little snippets once he has stuff edited. But then at the same time, every single time he puts it on, I'm like, oh no, like why am I making that face? Like what is that facial expression? Yeah, I mean it was really cool to get to see like the lines and the characters and the cinematography and all that stuff come together. Um, so I just tried to ignore that it was my face up there and just focus on the story.
Yep, I definitely understand that. I'm sure we all have that in us a little bit. How about you, Kayleigh?
I've got to say it was kind of the same. I mean, I've never seen myself on any type of film, so the first time seeing that was like kind of like one of those moments in those TV shows when you see like the person actually like realize they're where they want to be and things like that. And it's like that pivotal moment in a show. I felt like it was like that for me seeing it. But like Claire said, I do not like to watch myself act. I'm my own worst critic. So it's kind of funny when my mom's like, hey, do you have something? Do you have something? I was like, yeah, but I've not looked at it. And I would like you to not look at it either. And so it was kind of crazy. I'm the complete opposite of Jessica. Jessica always wants to see the shot and see things what they look like. I'm like, do it. I don't want to see it. If you think it looks good, I'm trusting you because I will critique everything I'm doing. So like the worst scene I felt like to film was we have a bathroom scene where I can see myself in the mirror. And so the whole entire scene, I'm like watching myself in the mirror and I'm like, I did not like how I just did that. And it was kind of like one of those, like, I was just battling with myself constantly. And so, I mean, it's mind blowing to see it kind of come together. And I've seen a fair amount of snippets of it, but at the same time, it's like critiquing everything I'm doing. And so,
Yep, definitely. I completely understand that. And so I wanted to ask if you could just provide some more context on the bathroom scene.
yeah, so the bathroom scene was actually between me and Claire. We filmed it on the first day. So this was my first time ever meeting Claire, and it's Jack's first interaction with Ashley, which is Claire's character. And Ashley is basically Jack's bully. And so it was kind of funny because it was the first time I actually saw Claire just kind of completely switch out of her like normal character into that. And the first time I was like, whoa, hold on. And so, basically, yeah, it's the scene where Jack finally realizes that normal school is not what she thought it was going to be like, and that she's going to have these struggles. And it's kind of like I said, where Sam basically stops being herself and she turns into this person she's not during school. And then when she's with Jack, she's a different person. It's kind of where Jack's realizing that she needs to do that too. And it's kind of that pivotal point for Jack to be like, okay, this isn't what my last school was like. This is how I'm going to be treated. I need to kind of have that internal battle of, am I going to change to be what society sees as normal, or am I going to be myself?
Yeah, thank you so much. Definitely. Yeah, I think that's a very pivotal moment as well. And I didn't know that that was the first time that you guys met. So that must have been really fun.
Yeah.
And so Kayleigh, you've mentioned that this was your first time on like film screen. So what was that coming from stage?
Mind blowing. I mean, I had an amazing people to kind of help me through it. Everybody was absolutely amazing. Claire, Tiana, and Jessica helped walk me through everything. I remember the first scene I ever shot was with Jessica, and it was the first scene of the show. And she kind of looked at me and she was like, I know you've never done this. She's like, and it's gonna be kind of like immediate, like overwhelming, like, oh my gosh. She was like, but you'll get used to it. And she was right. The first day, it was kind of like mind blowing, overwhelming. I was like, this is what it's like. The second day, I feel like everybody got more comfortable the second day. But the biggest thing for me was the actual acting. I right now work in a theater camp, and so it was kind of funny coming back because I had an acting class with my campers, and the acting teacher was like, "Why are you so dialed back?" She was like, "You're so dialed back. You need to be more like more." And I was like, "Oh." And it was kind of me. I realized the difference of on stage acting and on screen acting and how different they are. And um, I know I was always very anxious about getting into TV acting because I had never done it before. And um, I feel like there wouldn't have been a better experience to have than the experience I had with this my first time. So it's kind of, it was a huge jump. There's a lot of differences, and it was just kind of like crazy because I got over that anxiety without even knowing it. And yeah.
That's really amazing and impressive. As a stage actor, that is very like kudos to you.
Thank
That's
you.
like a big step. And Claire, you've said that you've like worked on film before and like in the screen. So is there anything that this process with What's the Rule, has that been anything different or just like, production wise?
Definitely. Well, I mean, every set is very different. Like, is it union or non-union? Like, is it student run? Is it like a company? Like all that stuff, it kind of determines like how the entire experience is gonna work. But comparing What's the Rule to some other um more like independent and student films, um, What's the Rule was definitely, it was a more collaborative environment, I felt, than a lot of other sets. Like I could definitely just like go up to Justin or Emily, our cinematographer, and just be like, oh, like, what are we doing for this scene? Like, oh, how is this gonna look? Like, just like, and ask like questions like, oh, well, what if, could this go over here? Like, what if we did this? Like, oh, is this good? Like, how do you want that? Like, it was just more, yeah, it was just like a more collaborative thing. And then I started doing, like, I did stage stuff, just like all throughout like elementary through high school. I did all that. And so I mean, I guess I do have some experience in that, and that compared to film is very different. Because as Kayla mentioned earlier, like in when you're on stage, you're given a character that you have so many other people have portrayed before you. So you can like go and Google how they said their lines, how they sang this song, all of that. But when you're filming something, like you are the person. You're not like you're not portraying something that's been done a million times. Like you need to come up with how you're going to act, like how is your line going to be delivered. So I think it's a little bit more work, I guess, to figure out all those lines and create this persona that you need to convince people to believe in. And then also the way that you act is very different. So stage, everything's more expressive and it's bigger. And when on film, when everything's close up, you need to be so much more into character and in tuned with your character's emotions, so it comes across as real and natural versus just like you want, the person in the last row of the audience to see your facial expression, so you're going to make it as big as possible and it's going to be very like clear. Whereas, film, you kind of want to see like the internal, like your mind process and your emotions.
Wow, thank you so much for the insight. Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people don't really understand, just like how different it is, but like how you can definitely borrow some skills from that. And so my next question is, do you have a favorite character in What's the Rule that you do not play?
Yeah, well, I'll go first, and I'll just continue with my little pattern over here. Um, I think like Jack is probably my favorite character, just because like she's really different from so many characters that I've seen portrayed anywhere in the media before. I feel like she's just really original. So, yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, I like Jack too. So what about you, Kayleigh? You can't pick Jack.
Honestly, I'd have to say it's like a tie between Ashley and Katie. Mostly because both of them, Ashley more is kind of the type of person that's seemingly not willing to learn anything, and Katie is very like Katie. One of Katie's lines is normally considered very offensive to somebody that's autistic. Um, but then you can tell that Katie, they didn't mean it offensively. They generally didn't know. Um, and I think that's very important in that character. But also Ashley, because I mean, I love a good antagonist and protagonist kind of situation. I gotta love that. But just kind of how I feel like the bully in every show kind of always has the best like storyline and background, and just even through this episode, seeing how Ashley's character grows, and I also feel like as playing Jack, I feel like I had really good scenes with Ashley's character and um, just kind of like the interactions they had, and so yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have to. And Justin says, "Wow, no love for Harris."
I mean, I was gonna say Harris, but I mean, Harris at the same time also just holds up a note card. So
Yeah. We need to see more of Harris, I think,
yeah,
before like he becomes our favorite. So
yeah,
Justin, yeah, we're holding you to that. If you want us to love Harris even more, you're gonna need to make some more appearances.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah. I
wow.
think Harris needs to become that character that's like not the main character of the show, but everybody makes them the main character of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think Harris needs to be that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you hear that, Justin? You got some big shoes to fill. You got to live up to that expectation. Um, so Mark asked another question, and their question was, "What was your family's reactions when you told them that you were going to film a TV show in New York?"
Oh, well, for a little background, when I was auditioning and reading the script for What's the Rule, I was in Newport filming the HBO series The Gilded Age, and that film's partially in New York and partially in Rhode Island. So it was just like a really busy winter for me. I was there, and I think I just like I don't know if I texted them or called my family, and they were just kind of like, "Again? We're doing the whole TV show in New York thing again for you?" And then like I got the part and we just didn't talk about it for like months. And then I brought it up again like once Justin was like, "Okay, like when can you come to New York to film?" And they were just kind of like, oh, "Okay, cool. So we're doing this again." Mm. That was basically it. I don't know. There wasn't yeah, they were just very like nonchalant about it, and yeah, it was just kind of like, "Okay, and here we go again. We're gonna book another hotel," and yeah, that's it.
Well, that's fun. That's nice at least. How about you?
So my parents, I am actually still a minor. So everybody else in the cast is over the age of 18. So when my parents found out, they were very hesitant because when you think about it, Justin doesn't like me putting it like this because it sounds creepy, but I technically just met somebody over the internet. Um, and I'm a minor, and Justin's not, so I was just talking to an adult man on the internet. So at the beginning, my parents were very iffy. They were like, "We really want you to do this, but you're literally talking to a stranger on the internet and then going to meet him." And so it was kind of after the first time meeting them, my parents were very in for it. They were like, "Let's do this. This is awesome." I live in a very small town. I don't know what that was, but something just banged on the door. I think it was a dog. But I live in a very small town, so it's not. It would be a dog. It's not something that is seen very often by people that like it's not something that people like just nonchalantly are like, oh yeah, I'm in a TV show, it's being filmed in New York. So I feel like other people's reactions were better, like more extravagant than my family's, because my family's, I've been acting for a while, so they were just kind of like, all right, let's do this, like this is a really cool thing, let's do this. I'm very sorry about my dog. But I feel like other people's reactions were more like, oh my gosh, you're like freaking out. So I mean, my parents, I feel like, were more worried about the fact that it was a stranger I met on the internet, which I
Understandably. Yeah,
that's
but
fair.
so glad you got this, like you're doing this because
Yes.
incredible. But yeah, that was a really good question. Thank you, Mark. And so we are close to closing this live stream. But I was just wondering if there was any little like I don't like hidden Mickeys or anything in the pilot that the audience should look out for, just or like something that an English teacher would say, like, oh, that red thread is so symbolic to this thing. Like, if there's anything that the audience should look out for.
Is there anything?
Not really. The nothing super like symbolic or anything, but there is kind of a fun connection. So my character in Snap Map's last name was Blanchard, and so is Ashley's last name. Um, and I actually right here I have the backpack which both my characters wore. So it's kind of like a weird coincidence. I don't know how the two worlds fit together, but that's in there.
Oh, that's cute. I like that. Yeah, that's definitely one, like a little hidden thing that an audience member could catch. Sam, anything else?
This was not intentional at all, but um just in general, I always have a hair tie on my wrist and a sweatshirt with me. And unintentionally you can see when Jack is more comfortable in a situation depending on where the sweatshirt is and where the hair tie is. Because sometimes the hair tie will be on one wrist, sometimes it'll be on another, and it was completely unintentional. But I realized the reason why it was like that is because when Jack is uncomfortable in a situation, they play with their hair tie on their wrist or their sweatshirt. And so whenever like it just kind of like you can kind of see where Jack is uncomfortable. And there are some scenes where the sweatshirt is completely put down and like it's not even like being used, and you can tell that those are the scenes where Jack is more comfortable with who they're talking to and who they're with. Also, the backpack Jack uses is Justin's backpack because I do not have a backpack. So but it is also Harris's backpack at the same time. So, and especially after the bathroom scene, you can see just like those little kind of details of Jack changing. And when Sam brings up things, Jack kind of does it. So they're not like hidden Mickeys, they're just kind of like very intricate details. But yeah, I feel like, and then the necklace, I feel like that's really, those are like kind of like the hidden Mickey kind of things.
Oh, definitely. I'm so going to look for all of those things that you guys just said. So as we're coming to a close, if you could just provide not like a summary, but kind of, I didn't want to just limit what's the rule to one word, but if you guys could just kind of describe what's the rule in your own way, like how you feel about it, if you guys could do that.
That's a very like vague question, I guess. Do you want me to like to do like a few sentence summary of it, or like my interpretation of it? Like I don't.
More like your interpretation of it.
Okay. Um, well, overall, it's like a very impactful and inspiring show. It follows the lives of these two twins, Jack and Sam, as they navigate going to a new high school and the types of people that they interact with and the challenges that come about their day. Um, Kind of the whole purpose of the show, once again, is to correct some stereotypes that currently exist in the media and be a very like educational, informative production overall. um I guess like for me, I personally find it really inspiring. I think if I was in the audience, I would also be very um like inspired by it and kind of enlightened by a lot of it, because this is like definitely, it's a very original show. I've never seen something like this done before. So I think that watching it, you get very into it because it's not something that you're familiar with. It's not the same story that's constantly shown over and over. The characters are original and they're based on real people, which is very impressive. Um, yeah.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I know that was a pretty vague question, but yeah. How about you, Kayleigh? How would you kind of describe it in your own words?
I mean, I don't think I could describe it better than Claire did, but I mean, the first word that comes to my mind when I think of what's the role is impactful and important. Because even with how much is brought up in the show, we bring up a lot of important issues in today's society that aren't normally brought up. Um, and I mean, the one thing that I know for a fact is each of us in the show have something that was brought up in the show that was important to us. No matter how little it was brought up in the show, or how much it was brought up in the show, it was important to us. And I think that basically sums up what's the rule, is that no matter how big or how small the problem is, it is brought up and it is cared for and it is intricately thought through. And it is, no matter how big or small it may be important to somebody else, it is a big importance to us, and we want to make sure it is brought up and that it is confronted the best way possible. And I feel like that kind of is a summary of what's the rules like, what the people producing and that are in the cast are like, which is basically what all of us are like deep down and what we want to get through in this show.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you both for answering all my questions. And if audience members today or whoever is watching wants to get more information, where could they find it?
Well, there's a lot of places. I would definitely check out anywhere on social media. The Instagram, I know for example, like there's a lot of posts on the story, just about like awareness in general, the production schedule, kind of what's going on. There's and there's also like a link that will lead you to kind of everything. Facebook, I think there's a Twitter. This link for the live, some little information about the actors and the plot. Jessica, like honestly, it's all over the internet. You can very easily find summaries, information about us, when's it, information about like the production itself, kind of anything you need.
Great, thank you so much. So I'm thinking that this live stream was a success and we can kind of end on a really good note. So thank you so much for asking all my questions and the audience's questions. And I am really excited to see this. Yep, I'm so blessed that I'm a part of this, just asking you guys questions and everything about that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. And if anyone in the audience has any other questions, you can just continue to send them this way until we completely end the show. I think Justin might end it soon. Maybe. I don't really know how this all works technology, but yep. So far, I think we'll just be around if anyone needs us. Yep. Thank you again.